good morning, good afternoon. Today is our podcast. I started LinkedIn live series to understand this space of supply chain, more specifically planning, through both function and through system and technology, what advancement is going on, how AI is improving our current processes, because there's not much change in supply chain planning if you see in last 20 years. So definitely we need to see what AI is bringing. Today's guest, Niels from Oii, is going to share with us this revolutionary development in the supply chain planning space, and how what it adds value in supply chain planning, and what is there for the planner, and how planner can use and add value to their company or to their client if they're consulting company. So let me introduce you to Niels. Niels, good afternoon, Niels. How are you?
Good afternoon, 𝗕𝗘𝗘𝗗𝗏, and good everyone. Good day, good morning, good evening, everyone on 𝗕𝗘𝗘𝗗𝗏's show. It's a pleasure to be here. So
thank
my name
you.
is Niels and I'm looking forward to a discussion today.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Niels. So let's start with introducing yourself and a brief about Oii, so that the audience knows about Oii, and then your background in supply chain. You have very strong depth in supply chain. I've seen your profile. So please introduce to the audience.
Folks, and again, I cannot see who's on and if there's any people that know me, but I'm around for a bit longer. When I started in supply chain, I had black curly hair. And so those days are over. So no, I started in the 90s, actually as an engineer, and fell in love with the healthcare industry, spanning pharmaceuticals, med device, but also patients in hospitals. And that's been my focus actually ever since. So did quite some consulting work across pharmaceutical development, manufacturing, but also in supply chain. And then moved into logistics, into a couple of senior leadership roles in companies like DSV and UPS and CEVA Logistics. And I've been involved many times in S&OP planning cycles, and intrigued by conflicting KPIs, intrigued by all kind of systems and planning systems that came in. And in a way fell in love with when I met a couple of folks from Oii about a year ago. Bob Rogers, one of the founding fathers as well, a key expert in the domain of probabilistic AI and a few other areas, actually tested it on black holes in the galaxy. So actually that is a nice test case as well. Wrote his first book on AI in 1992. The predecessor of the predecessor was AI, and a few other folks, including people in the pharmaceutical world. So that got me intrigued by indeed the power of what the breadth of AI, right? So we're not really going to talk about Gen AI and those kind of things, but indeed I've been intrigued by what, in this case, mainly probabilistic AI can bring to supply chain planning. Indeed, we'll talk about the things we do. We'll talk about, and you asked me a few words on Oii. So that stands for Orchestrated Insights and Intelligence. And it's really the key line, we can get back to that probably 𝗕𝗘𝗘𝗏𝗏, is that we believe that supply chain planning must move decisively from indeed what we've seen in the last decades, reactive response, to proactive design. And that's something I think we're going to talk about today.
Thank you very much, Niels. Thank you. So I think, let's start with the basic fundamentals of the definitions and understanding, so we all get into the same page. The first word I have is definitely in my mind is how you define reactive planning and proactive planning. You just mentioned it, so let's get the definition clear. Reactive planning versus proactive planning.
So, and again, that's at the heart of indeed what we do 𝗕𝗘𝗘𝗏𝗏. So thanks for asking. So in a way, what we do, I want to carve it up. And again, there's quite a number of things we can talk about. I want to carve it up in 3 blocks, if that's okay with you. So the first block, what we do is, and again, we're with Oii, we're providing a platform for decision support, mainly within supply chain and around supply chain planning. We're not replacing any ERP. We're also not replacing any advanced planning system in place.
Okay.
So what we do, we find our way in the middle. And the first block, and again, I've been around for a while. I've been implementing ERPs and systems and planning systems as well. And we lost a lot of time on making sure that garbage in, data-wise, is not garbage out.
Yes, yes.
So I'm very happy that we now, in a way, have tackled that problem or reduced that challenge into because AI is helping us. Okay. AI is helping us with customers that come with 6 different ERP platforms and 20 different spreadsheets and PDF files, and say, this is my data. So with our data, with our data analyzer, we take it all in. And AI will tell us what data is missing, what data needs to be imputed, what is empty. So that whole data intake is going much, much faster than what we had before. So, and again, that would reduce cost. And indeed, we're dealing at a fraction of the cost of what these larger platforms will be dealing with. So that's the first block. And the second block is really the digital twin.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe many folks on the call will be thinking, okay, a digital twin, that's dead, right? Or those days are over. And my response, because I hear it as well since 2014, 2015, but my take to it, to Steve and folks on the call, is that it's finally coming of age.
Yes.
And what we do is in supply chain, whether you come from a finance background or from an operational background or from a supply chain background, it is about balancing the 3 things: cost, inventory, and service to the customers.
Yes.
So how do you have trade-offs in there, and what is the most optimal thing? And where we've seen as an OP meetings where folks just want to overstock just to make sure you don't run out of stock. You can always deliver. So how do you tune?
Yes.
And that fine, just right balance is why we saw the analogy to the fairy tale of Goldilocks. And that's also how we have our platform. Just right. So just the right warmth or the heat in the porridge, and just the right size bed. And for the folks that know the fairy tale. So that's what we do. And the third bucket is really run what-if scenarios on top of that digital twin.
Okay.
And we help customers within 6 to 8 weeks to get it deployed. So it's quick. It's very limited investment, and it's so that's what we do. And specifically that what if scenarios, again, built on the digital twin, which is built on the real data from the customer itself. Typically years of data. The more the merrier for us. So we mimic in a way the customer's supply chain, and we start playing around with it. So you can ask scenarios like, what if the tariff, if tomorrow or next week there's 30% tariff hike? How will our supply chain respond, and what should I do? So again, that is where we're helping not just planners, but also the financial folks and also the operational folks. And we do that within the end-to-end supply chain, from raw materials all the way to the patient or the consumer and back. And that's why we include the manufacturing part as well, and help them optimize. If the downstream can be optimized, we can also help the manufacturing environment to reduce the number of changeovers or a different number of things. So how we, to summarize where we help and what we do, how we move from reactive response, just responding to something that's happening. We're not just seeing the problem earlier, but we're now able to run scenarios to prevent the issue from happening. And that is really at the heart of what we do, why we call ourselves decision infrastructure.
Okay, perfect. So Niels, shall we see it, because digital twin is hard to understand when we explain verbally, Shall we see a short clip where the digital twin is explained, and then, it makes sense more for the audience? How about that? Shall I share a digital twin video now?
If you don't mind, and again, I shared a couple of videos with you, and I hope that's
it's all there.
For the audience as well. Let's start with the the high level one, which I think is the 1 minute explainer video. So the people at the call kind of have an oversight of where it fits and how it would look like, and then we go deeper in details for data, probabilistic AI. And
so healthcare video. You have a one with the healthcare. Okay, let's start with the healthcare video. Okay, perfect. So let me know if you see and sound is good or not. I'm sharing. So I'm going here and I'm going to run the video, and you let me know if it. Can you see the screen? Anything changes?
Yes, but it's not running yet.
Okay. Okay, how about now? Is sound coming?
No, it seems on pause.
No, it's paused. But before, when I started, did you heard the sound?
Not yet. No.
Okay, now? Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So let me go back, and I will do that because that's something I have to do here, and I have to go and share the screen here. And okay, go present. Okay, so I will present the screen. Stop screen. Okay, and then share screen, and I am going with the video of pharma. Yeah, okay, pharma video. And
again, it's applicable for many industries, not just for pharma.
Okay.
Right. So, but this is the industry that I'm representing at Oii.ai.
Perfect. Let me know now. I'm starting. Let me check one more time before I say. Let me know. Here is the video at start. Okay. Now I am there and I'm starting. All good now. And this is something, okay.
In healthcare.
How about now? Good?
Good.
All good? Okay. So let's start now. And I'm making full screen. So we all enjoy and then we discuss.
In healthcare, do you know what our biggest opportunity to cut inventory is without hurting service to patients? Meet Goldilocks, your AI assistant, helping you orchestrate your healthcare supply chain data with intelligence. Goldilocks harmonizes your planning tools, data platforms, and even spreadsheets into one intelligent system, helping you to better align your S&OP planning. It solves the Goldilocks problem at the heart of every healthcare supply chain, finding just the right balance between cost to serve, your service to patients, and cash. Your inventory even in disruption in just weeks. Goldilocks builds your digital twins seamlessly with no third parties or extra software required, then runs thousands of what-if scenarios. Using probabilistic AI to optimize trade-offs and anticipate risk before decisions are made. Post-implementation teams gain clarity and control, less firefighting, better service to patients, and targets care providers can commit to. Goldilocks, orchestrating healthcare supply chains with intelligence.
Okay, perfect. So now let's go back. Niels, please explain what we just saw. What is Goldilocks and how it is solving the problem? What is it Goldilocks a problem or Goldilocks is a solution?
It's absolutely a solution, folks.
It's a solution.
Folks on the call, I'm not here as a sales pitch, but we're talking about indeed the essence of improving the planning for supply chain, and again, that is also part of my heart, and again, in my case, applied for the healthcare industry. But again, I got peers in retail and fast-moving goods, so it's relevant anywhere where you have a make-to-stock process. Right? Generally, that's in place. Make-to-order is a bit different, but if there's make-to-stock, it's relevant. And we're balancing cost, cash, and service. So you would say, hey, we do that, right? Since ages in our ERP, or we have a rapid response or any of the major APS platforms as well, which is all fine. That's why we're saying we're not replacing them, but it's really about understanding the parameter setting. So where we've seen that it often customers or shippers don't really understand the variability. So they understand the lead time, they understand all the different parameters, but it's not about parameter setting. It's not about trucking 10 days from Amsterdam to Marseille with some freight. You need to understand not the 10 days, but you need to understand the variability, which is not normally distributed, right? Sometimes it takes 9 days, sometimes even 8, but most times it takes 14 or 21, or it has taken 183 as an example as well. So you need to understand, how does my parameters, how do the variabilities in my supply chain, how do they distribute, and how can I calculate with the distributed amount of or the distribution of my variables in my parameter setting. And that is at the heart of what we do. And we got customers with over 200,000 parameters, right? And that can change every day. So so the probabilistic AI calculates, based on the data set from our customers, calculates how the behavior is from the supply chain. And that's translated into the 3 buckets: service, cost, and inventory. And sometimes you want to see, hey, I want to optimize my service, but what does it do to my cost to serve? Or what does it do to my inventory? And or I want to sell off my company. I want to clean out my balance sheet. So what does it do to my cost to serve and to the service to my customers? So at the heart to Qi'V and what we do is help customers understand the parameter setting, maybe before they do a full APS implementation, but also run what-if scenarios on top. So they can say, so if I decide to maybe open up another warehouse or open up another manufacturing site, what's the impact for service, cost, and capital? So it is really helping to make decisions before you're actually going to make the decision. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, Niels. So I would divide that into 3 parts because of my supply chain planning experience, 20 years now. The first part is the event, whether the event is happened or even is going to happen, the future or the second. Now the planning side is where the planners like me, we struggle is there's so many parameters we call MRP policies, and there are so many of them. So we have to go and manually change and update, and so that's, I think, what Oii.ai is doing is taking care of the first one, ask those questions, what if this happened, what if that happened, then also taking care of the second topic, which is finding the best parameters, and updating it. And then the third one is like, now running all those scenarios, because currently we have to change the parameter, run the scenario, change the parameter, run the scenario. So what I believe what you explained is that this, you don't have to do the change the parameter, run the scenario. Oii.ai can do all that and find for you the best parameter and the best scenario. Is it what I understood?
Correct. That's you understood it well. But again, there's not one optimum.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
There's an optimum maybe from a service point of view, from a serve point of view. So you don't have to, because you're having not enough inventory, you have to fly everything around the globe now. So your cost to serve explode.
Yeah.
So you can, indeed, that's why it's called Goldilocks. For the ones who don't know the fairy tale, read the fairy tale. But it's really finding that balance that makes most sense to you. Right. Okay. So maybe you say at any expense, we want to increase the customer service or the OTIF. We want to increase that to 99%. So what do I need to do to get there? Yeah. Right. So we have different trade-offs and different scenarios that indeed Goldilocks will help you with.
Okay.
And then I think you maybe wanted to go there as well before we can maybe indeed start the video on probabilistic AI. So we'll know a bit better what it is. So what we then do, typically we start with a customer with a proof of value or proof of concept, where we take in the data and we prove for the internal business case that it makes sense to actually do it. Yeah. Then we do a pilot on a category or on a couple of subsets of SKUs before we roll it out to the full SaaS solution. And typically then the customers can decide to either keep that for a month or two, to keep that as a standalone platform so they can see, so what is my trade-offs, where do I need to talk to the commercial guys, and if I indeed reduce safety stock from a SKU, it's per SKU level that we come up with advice. And the advice, we call that recommendations to apply, RTAs. So per SKU, and that typically customers use it on a monthly basis to help optimize the SKUs. And customers choose to maybe the bottom 80% to automate that and API back to the ERP system. And the top 20%, maybe because it's so sensitive and there's been a fight a year ago about reducing safety stock, and the commercial lead is not happy with it, that's going to be reduced. He doesn't have the confidence yet. So we can help them to actually reduce it from 50 to 40, from 40 to 30, so they can start feeling the trust in the system as well, while the CFO now has a tool as well to understand, so what is the financial impact of the decisions we're going to take. So that is really what we do. So we can either keep it standalone or have it fully integrated with the ERP. There's also customers that have not any ERP, that just run the business with Excel and Power BI, which is also fine. So we can sit on that stack and take the data from that. So you don't need to be a full global multinational with all the systems in place. Also for smaller customers, it actually makes sense to actually use it because we sit on top of their basics.
That's interesting, Neil. So let's discuss 2 minutes on this topic. What tech stack expectation you have from the client? Is it having an ERP is mandatory or not?
So as I just explained, we have a customer in my area around 500 million revenue. They don't have any ERP.
500 or 5 million?
500 million. They don't run any ERP. They run it indeed on Power BI and a spreadsheet.
Yeah, different software.
It's fine. But there's also customers that have multiple ERP platforms. I still remember the pain of integrating that into one platform. Don't do it. Leave it as is. We come up and we'll sit on top.
We put the Oii.
View. We'll take all the data in and we'll consolidate it. And so we come first with a baseline, and that's we'll come in with a baseline, and even that baseline is already sometimes a treat for some customers who struggle to really understand what is my current cost to serve end to end. And so that with the baseline, then we do the optimization, and then out of that comes the improvement for service, cost, and cash. So
I understood multiple ERPs, no problem. No ERP, no problem. What about a client having a planning software? How it fits with the ERP, planning software, and Oii? How the three fits together?
Yeah. So typically where we complement is to again provide customers better understanding in the what if scenarios.
Okay.
Right. But also in how to tune their specific parameters.
Okay.
So typically we API that back then in that case to the ERP, and
ERP
will kind of upload it again in the APS. Right?
So you take an input from the planning software, whatever the planning software is doing to get the plan, then Oii will take the right decisions. Yeah.
Yes.
And then feed all those optimized parameters to ERP.
So we take the data typically in from ERP, but also from the APS. So also, the main source is the ERP for us.
Okay, you got the main source from ERP, and you have also the planning data coming from APS. You take that, and
again, maybe bad news for folks on the call, but we still cannot predict the future. Right, so that silver bullet for how to really tune your forecast accuracy, etc. But again, you can make better decisions to start understanding better how your supply chain will behave because of all the continuous disruptions that we see on the globe.
So, is there something in your future roadmap, Niels, that you're going to include the planning side of it also, like to make it more independent software?
So no, the roadmap for us for now is to truly move into provide decision infrastructure.
Okay,
so we're not becoming a Blue Yonder or an 09 or even SAP. No. We're becoming Goldilocks, and we're really helping customers to understand what they could do. Right. Okay. So and the forecasting part is still a part of that process as well, and we take that in, but we can enrich the planners. We will enrich the planners with additional choices, with additional decision input as well, and so they understand better indeed how what choices to make and what makes sense for given their specific data environment.
So Niels, shall we go to the probabilistic AI video? Yeah, I think it's the perfect time now to see that, and then we discuss about it. How about that? Okay, so let me get to the probabilistic AI video, which is this one. See, after 2 clicks, I got better now in this so clicking here. Okay, and let me see how the screen looks like. Okay, let me add this guy, add to the stage. Okay, perfect. And then I am going to run this one. Probabilistic.
The definition of probabilistic AI is that you never know what's going to happen in the future to 100% certainty. when you use probabilistic AI, even if the forecast hit perfectly, the probabilities of lead time variability get folded into the equation, and you discover that your plan is absolutely broken. So probabilistic AI is the art and practice of taking those probabilities and combining them together in order to create thousands of different potential scenarios about how the future will play out and what do all of those imply for, in our case, the supply chain performance and cost service trade-offs. That suddenly transcends beyond supply chain into the world of the CFO, the treasurer. The
Perfect, Niels. Yeah, please explain in the layman language what is probabilistic AI.
Probabilistic AI is a fast way of calculating using AI to understand the behavior of all the data points, of all the parameters. And again, we're all in, we all know the parameters in classic supply chain planning, and whether it's reorder frequencies or reorder points, or indeed it's lead times or lead time variability, or it is safety stock and safety stock variability. It helps to calculate what the real behavior is. So not just the number, but what the behavior is of all these different parameters that are driving your supply chain. So in a way, it helps you to understand your organization as a living organism and how it will behave given challenges in the near future. A ship blocking, and again, a horrible story in the world today, and there's economic impact, what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. What's the impact for the supply chain? What do I need to do? What are my options? What are my trade-offs? Or indeed, if there's tariff kicking in next week, so what are the options I should do? Or if there's a major growth and there's a big customer in the southern part of Germany, how should I reorganize myself if I invest in a specific new warehouse or something? What are the trade-offs? Or if I cut over from air to ocean in my logistics, so I'm having way less costs. However, I have way more inventory, longer at sea. So what are my trade-offs for CO2 as well? What's it doing to my carbon footprint? And again, all these things are now, you can indeed digitally, your digital twin will tell you before you actually need to take the decision. It will tell you what your options are, what the outcomes will be if you take those kind of decisions. And that's, I hope in layman terms, a couple of examples, trade-offs, and that's why our customers love it, because and it's also they start to learn that there is a digital twin they can actually challenge and ask, hey, how, should I do this or not? Or what's the impact of doing it? And again, in my past, it was very difficult to get those scenarios above the table, or it took 6 months for a consulting firm. And then 6 months later, but when it was presented, it's kind of not relevant anymore. So this is real time at your fingertips. It's available and you can use it as you like. So that's why I became very excited, having gone through indeed also 2 decades of witnessing how there's more optimization in SNOP, or IBP as we call it nowadays.
Okay, so let me read the AI definition from Gemini and see how it goes. Deterministic models produce identical, predictable outputs from the same inputs using fixed rules, whereas probabilistic models incorporate uncertainty, randomness, and statistical likelihoods to produce varying outputs. Is it good?
I love it.
Yes.
And again, it's dealing with uncertainty, which is taking more time from the planners.
Exactly.
If you're in planning, and again, we still cannot predict the future, and that will never change. I think. But indeed, understanding and dealing with uncertainty is becoming a bigger part of the planner's role, and that's what we see at customers as well. We've seen that change evolve, we've seen that role evolve over time into a more indeed a higher level view of what can happen in the supply chain and what are the trade-offs that we're facing.
Okay, so Niels, I have posted in LinkedIn about decision design architecture. That's about the planning, and there's 3 levels there. And we'll see how Oii in that framework goes. The first top level is the operating model and decision rights, like who is going to take the decisions. Yeah, the top level. Yeah, the second level is the middle level is the planning logic. Yeah, the planning logic is what is the frequency of those decisions? Is a monthly SNOP, a weekly SNOE, a daily stand-up. Like that's a planning logic. Is the top one is who is taking the decision. The middle one is the planning logic. What is the frequency of those decisions? And then the bottom one is system behavior and parameters, means all those lead time, safety stock, all those things. Who manages that?
Yeah.
And how it is. So now you got a 3 layers. Please tell me the Oii. I feel the Oii is taking care of all the 3. What do you think?
Yeah, let me just and again, I'm not selling here. I'm indeed sharing thoughts with folks, supply chain who are as passionate for making sure that we deliver as the others. Yeah. So I love the question of who's taking the decision. And again, having been around in SNOP for a bit longer in different customers, I've seen different powerhouses. Let's put it like that. Sometimes I've seen manufacturing chiefs say, Niels, is it what it is? I'm only going to make blue products this month because I'm measured on my KPIs on cost to serve, or is on cost, and I need to reduce that. Sometimes I've seen power in the commercial side say, I don't ever want to be out of stock, and I feel 20 days of inventory is not enough. I want to have 100 days of inventory, and then it stays 100 forever because of, and that never really changed. So what we see now is that finance comes in, and again in the IBP environment, and I always, and again having a supply chain background, feel sorry for a lot of supply chain folks who are the ones in the middle and who need to fix it all, right? By flying it or expediting it or taking calls in the middle of the night to expedite all these problems that come up. So one of the best practices that we see is that either there's one strong function that actually owns the ball, or if there's a strong supply chain function that says, we're going to run with this with the support of the CEO, and we're going to run with this, and we're going to be primus inter pares for the other functions, and we're going to clean out and we're going to reduce all the things that we can. There's also another best practice, which is a center of excellence, where someone from manufacturing, someone from supply chain, someone from finance, and someone from the P&L or the commercial organization come together and kind of shape that up in the beginning. And then there's a decision, right? An RTA, we say the system comes up with a reduce this safety stock from 50 days to 20 days. There's often a process in place that people want to be informed and want to understand what are we going from 50 to 20 right away, or we're going to indeed go slow. And how do you build trust around this new system and a new platform? So that is, we see different approaches. And maybe that leads us indeed to talking a bit more on that digital twin and showing the video on the digital twin. So who decides? It's a bit different per organization, but it needs to be at the senior level. And it can be in the function, or it can be a center of excellence. The planning typically is indeed monthly that they run the digital twin. And then the RTAs are then dispatched, or they're actually sorted out during the month. The system keeps track of what's implemented. So if you say, I'm going to ignore the 50 to 20 days, the system is going to keep track of, hey, so this is how this is the value of 30 days of capital that you leave on the table. So we actually show also what is not implemented and what is implemented. And that is a KPI that typically the board loves to have. So that's a monthly cycle. And typically...
sorry, Niels, the follow-up question here is, so your existing client who have implemented Oii, they also have these SNOP cycles going on? There's nothing changed in that SNOP cycle?
No, so it matures in a way, the SNOP cycle. It's still indeed the weekly meetings, the monthly meetings.
It's going on.
There's much more decision infrastructure now supporting the current SNOP or IBP process.
So it augments, it assists in those decisions, but the meeting frequency and the cycle is still there, and everybody is following that.
Very comparable.
Okay, perfect. Please continue. Sorry.
No, that's it. And your third point was on the system behavior.
Yeah, the parameter side. There's so much planners work in updating, and there's so many parameters. If you update lead time, you forget service level, you forget this, and then it becomes static.
And I think I already answered it. I see the role of planners augment.
Yeah.
And there's a transactional part which is being automated. So indeed, the process is, hey, let's agree on the bottom 80%. We automatically API that back into the ERP. And the top 20% or the top 5 SKUs or however it's determined, we want to have a discussion within the core S&OP team. We want to have a discussion just to notify that there's changes ahead and changes are going to happen. And that fades out. We see that when people start to trust the system and see, hey, I can truly trust the 20 days of inventory, then there's less discussion needed in a way. So that transformational change is important to tackle to gain the trust of the new way of working. Does that make sense?
So it makes sense. So I'm taking 2 business use cases just to get the context here in the business side. One is the lead time set in the system, let's say the ERP, S/4HANA, let's say that, in the material master. The lead time set is 15 days, but the historical pattern of that supplier is always more than 30 days. Yeah, but the lead time there is 15 days, and the planning is going on using that 15 days and all. So is Oii going to see those lead time variabilities and say, hey, by the way, it's not 15, you should move to 30, Is it AI, Oii can add value there to the plan?
Yes, absolutely. You'll see that it will result into issues, into stuff. So I'm not saying that. Maybe I gave the idea that we're also always reducing costs and reducing.
No, you can increase also.
But indeed, there's many often where we say no, you should go from 15 to 45 days.
Exactly.
But even also that can affect all the way upstream back to the manufacturing side. So hey, if you do this to 60 days, you can actually cut out to changeovers in the manufacturing environment. So
the
that is indeed what it's doing, and that's why I'm saying it's kind of augments the role of the planner. It gives them more strategic decision infrastructure.
I love it, because that's where the planners are overwhelmed managing the parameters, and I feel that the Oii, the AI and the digital twin will support that the dynamics of parameters updates. Another one I have is another use case is that this particular customer, the service level is set 98%, but it's the bottom 10% of the customer. It should not be 98%. Like somebody set it and forgot it, and whatever, maybe it's a one-time event. You sold some. So is AI going to say, hey, why this customer is 98%? Like, tell me.
And again, it's not going to say it itself, because that's a commercial decision. Right? But if you say, hey, this, it's sometimes difficult to automate that, but hey, this set of customers, 90% is well enough. Right? And this set of customers, we go from 95, and
exactly.
And you can even do it per SKU. So you can set it so all these SKUs have their own specific labels, and they have their own service levels as well. So yes, you can play around with that, and also, but hey, let's now go Goldilocks and say, if I would do that. So what would be the difference between my current way of working and my, let's call it, more tuned, my tuned service level? What's the comparison? What does it bring me? Does it indeed reduce my cost? Does it reduce my capital? What does it do? And so yes, this is very much a good example of and a good use case. So you can differentiate your service levels.
I love it.
And the implications of change of tuning your service levels.
Because that's very good. So I feel that
and maybe also given time, maybe it's a good bridge to bring in that little video of the digital twin.
I started. Let me start now.
While you do that, I'll reintroduce that it's our Oii Chief Technical Officer as well, and Data Officer, Bob Rogers himself, who's explaining the ins and outs of this broadly used term of digital twin. So here we go.
Okay, perfect. So let me start, and you let me know how it goes.
What is a digital twin? There are a couple of different answers, but there are also some things that people think of as digital twins that really aren't. A digital twin is a simulation of how a complex system behaves so that you can understand if this input changes in a certain way, then I'm going to get these new outputs. So how do we do it? Every single element in a supply chain, a supplier, a factory, a distribution center, the transportation that moves the product from point A to point B, all of those components have certain kinds of behavior. And we have software components that will emulate that behavior. We simulate every single little step through that whole process for all the products. Could be a couple 100,000 products. The technology that enables our digital twin to do all these things is taking in the data from the customer's actual supply chain in order to build up the digital twin. Now, this is an important point because most organizations that have a digital twin are actually building it up manually through fingers on keyboards, typing out bits and pieces of software. Our approach is to use the data to build up the digital twin automatically.
Perfect. Okay. So, Niels, so digital twin, I see that is taking all those parameters from the physical assets. Like, is it how long it takes to map all that? Like in your real implementations, I like what the video I saw, but tell me the ground reality.
And it's a good bridge into the last video. That's a promise to the audience, but hopefully it helps to add color to our discussion. So the yes, so there's already all the information we take from. We don't go outside, right? So in a way, it's a small language language model. So we stay within the customer's organization, specifically within my industry, within healthcare, where we got constraints around HIPAA or data privacy as well. It's really important that we are only working within the data from the customers, and again, that's why we take data from the typical ERP environments. Again, if it's available, so it's basic master data, but we combine it and we clean it before, and that's a bridge into the last video as well. So yes, all the attributes are there, so we know per SKU where it is, multi-echelon as well, so we know. If it goes through a central global DC and then to a regional DC and then to a local DC, we know the routing and of every SKU. So if something changes, we know the implications of all the echelons that is living through as well, all the way back to the raw materials into the manufacturing. So yes, all these data points have all the attributes and all the labels that they should have. So you can look at it from a finance point of view. You can look at it from a supply chain point of view. You can look at it from a manufacturing operational point of view, a quality point of view. And you're always looking at the same set of data. So there's never confusion on, hey, I'm seeing something else. And or I'm taking the information from a different system. So there's one version of the truth, which we collect in that central data set that we work with.
Perfect. So I'm giving you a business use case again. In this context, like supplier risk visibility, because usually if the supplier is going bankrupt, that data is not in our ERP, that data is not in our planning system. You see, that's an external data. Maybe it's sitting in Google somewhere, because it's a news. It's a news, but the company comes to know about that news when the supplier tells, by the way, this happens and blah, blah, blah. So is digital twin also considering external signals?
So what it is signaling is, and this is also a real case of a customer that we had. They said, well, Niels, no issue, because we got three suppliers actually for this. So if one goes belly up, we still have two others. And we can see, and we say, hey, but you're only trading with one. So you think you have three, but you're only having one. So it will highlight those things. And again, if we kind of label this as a risk and drill deeper in it, it can show you what the actual behavior is and what you're actually doing. Or again, in my world of maybe pharmaceutical shipping, right? And if you need to have a trucking company that can ship under GDP ruling, and you audited that, you did supplier qualification, and in the end you selected 5 different suppliers who can do it. Very often you hope and trust and think, okay, so my operation will behave like that, and it will only select one of those 5.
Yeah.
We also see that sometimes that there's a number 6 or a number 7 popping up as well. So you can also use it to, in a way, have your own internal quality audit to see, am I living up to my own procedure? Am I living up to my own quality system? And that's also a use case that that is maybe relevant in around the use case.
So if I assume that the Oii will also consider weather data, the news data, like there are external data which is nowadays more common in the planning space. Yeah, before we don't use those data. Now it's more easy because of AI to manage that. So is Oii also considering in the digital twin those weather data? And
remember the 3 blocks, if you don't mind, at the beginning. So it's the data intake part, which is important, and the last video is on that. Second block was the digital twin, and the third block is the what-if scenarios.
Okay.
So the digital twin is only the data from the customer itself. Yeah,
okay.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
And then we can run scenarios like, hey, if we're an ice cream company, and if the weather is going to be indeed very hot next week in Paris, that's an input indeed to my planning as well. So it will enrich the planner's information. And yes, there's some automation we can bring in, but that's part of the what-if scenario.
Oh, the what-if scenarios. Okay.
And we call that, that's under agentic AI, which we have as an agent running next to you.
Wow.
So that's poking and asking the probabilistic AI about those scenarios. Yeah, that's in the third bucket of what if.
Okay, so perfect. So Niels, we have this data video. Is it a good time to see that video now?
Close it off, and we'll not bore the audience with other videos.
This is the last one. This is the last one. Yeah, this is the last one. And because we are perfect timing of we're talking about the data here, the input data and different at different stages, the 3 stages you mentioned. Yeah. So let me add that. And is this one? Yeah, your data is good enough.
Yes,
that's the one. So now I got a good practice in adding the video without any technical glitch. You do it 3 times, then you become good in these things. Okay, so now I'm starting the video.
Is your data good enough? Bad data that you're not aware of might cause bad decisions from an analytical tool because you just don't have visibility to what's happening with your data. The way we handle this at Oii, we've built a sophisticated ingestion pipeline, the 𝗕𝗘𝗘𝗗𝗗 system, that takes that data from multiple sources, interprets it, and understands how it fits together. In addition to that, we've built a sophisticated data scrubber, which can identify anomalies in the data, suspicious values that need to be reviewed, and also missing data. It has the ability to impute missing data when it's hard to find that data in your system. Imputing means that the system is recommending a likely value, but always tracking whether or not that imputed value has a material effect on the decisions you're going to make, so that you're safe from taking an interpreted value for granted and making a mistake. So the whole process then results in information that's surfaced to the customer in our collaborative data explorer, in which all of the concerning data, all of the anomalies, all of the errors, all of the missing data and imputations are surfaced using what we call data alerts in the Data Explorer, so that within 1 to maybe a handful of meetings, Oii and the customer can work through all of the questions and challenges, resulting in a data set that we can use confidently to move to the next step, creating that digital twin within usually 6 to 8 weeks.
So I hope or that's the question to the audience, right? That I can explain what we do at Oii, which is basically helping planners, but also helping financial folks and operational folks to help move from reactive response to that proactive design and understanding the scenarios, the what-if scenarios you can run based on the data set you have. So I'm excited. I hope you are too.
Thank you, Niels. I think it's a very good conversation we had today. And we covered means all the topics related to hair, because now it's easy to connect the dots, how all that goes. And now I think my last question is going back to the Goldilocks and the three parameters in that triangle, cost to serve, inventory or cash, and service level. What results you have seen in your customers after you have implemented, and then this in the language of this Goldilocks. That's my last question for today, because I want to end this podcast with the positive side, which is, yes, there is real results our customers have seen, tangible results. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, for the folks that are interested to know more, either send me a note on LinkedIn, or indeed go to our website, where what I just shared, many of these videos are there as well. As well as a number of customer cases and references there as well. And so a few of them are customers with a turnover of 30 million. But there's also 60 billion. So it's in, and again, it would work in any environment. It needs to be sizable, a bit sizable. And it also needs to, like I said, mainly have make to stock environments. But let me take one of the examples, and again, that's on the website as well, of a large pharmaceutical company that we worked with, where we indeed reduced of that part that they started off with 22% in inventory. 27 decrease in cost to serve. And again, that goes straight to the bottom line, remember? And so that's been massive. But again, they were the most happy with, in the end, 31% fewer factory orders. So the whole process became so aligned that especially also the manufacturing folks were very, very happy, because it was much more streamlined upstream because of the optimization downstream. And again, all of the others are sizable, really sizable savings. And that's why the business case for us, or the proof of value, as we call it, is typically really easy to do. The benefits are very, very fast. In 6 to 8 weeks, we started, right? And then you can use it on a monthly basis. And again, also the investment and the cost is really a fraction of what either of the large platforms.
So the ROI is less than 6 months. Can we say that? Yeah,
and again, we prove that value, and we need to talk a bit, but also that's something we can offer free of charge in some examples. So we love to engage with customers who are passionate and serious about this, and if that's the case, we love to prove that case on behalf of
you give the trial version to the client to test it, like in their data, and like, is it something that
we show them indeed? So we take in the data, proof of value, and we show them, let's call it the bang for the buck. We show them indeed what's the savings in cost, in capital and inventory, and what's the improvement in service, and that should be enough to sign off the mini business case, and that should absolutely be enough.
And then you go for the implementation, 6 to 8 weeks, and you are good. And if you just give a ballpoint, where is this pricing goes? And is a subscription model? Is it how much in implementation cost is, and how much is the subscription, or is it like just
the implementation cost? And again, most of the implementation is done already in the proof of value phase. That's taking 6 to 8 weeks. Then we typically, and again, we already have the digital twin. And then based on that, we're going to run the pilot, and we're going to say, okay, let's zoom into this. And again, so the proof of value in some cases, and again, we can discuss, it's free of charge, and there's a monthly fee. And again, that is very, very reasonable. Starting from the pilot, and then when we have a good understanding of how this customer works. Your earlier point, how they will take decisions on their end. How will they use the outcomes of this? Will this be the center of excellence, or is there a senior who owns this? We also have, in many cases, CEOs blessing this off and really being the sponsor of it themselves. And then we go to the full SaaS solution with all the SKUs in it. So that's the 3-step approach. But again, the digital twin is ready in 6 to 8 weeks.
Perfect. And there's no army of consultants coming, multi-million-dollar implementation going on, nothing like that, yeah?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I've been a consultant. I knew sometimes it was needed. We have an implementation team. Typically can work remote as well. And we take in the data. So there's indeed a couple of data workshops that we're having. What Bob was just explaining, the data we need, and then we'll do our work. And there's some discussion going on. And hey, customer, how will you use this, right? And that's typically where we have some engagement with the customer and advice as well. But it's quick. And again, it's a fraction of the cost that you will pay.
Thank you. I have a question from the audience here. You mentioned your focus on MTS, make to stock environment. Do you have application in make to order as well? As an example, in pharma CDMO contract. CDMO is a contract manufacturing. Yeah,
indeed. So it's like a CDMO, but also stages in it.
So
so typically. Again, just being very blunt, we're talking make to stock, right? There's this real triangle of capital, the inventory, and with MTO, which is less. And typically, if with MTO you have your bill of materials, drive indeed what you need to have. So there's actually a company I talked to building bridges. You don't put a bridge somewhere on the shelf, so that's a make to order process. But within there, they have make to stock elements like spare parts or screw bolts that they need. So we do talk to MTOs companies because there's typically MTS processes in there as well. And for the rest, it's more linear. And again, feel free to reach out. But the best application is in MTS.
The best is in MTS and MTO, as you just said. Underlying the MTS, there is an MTO. There is an MTS for the raw material components and all those going on, for which you have to plan to make the finished good as MTO. So there's an application there. I understand. There is a one user here in the audience, a good solution to layer on top of the existing tools and provide responses to what if scenarios. I agree that one of the key benefits here, tools usually are set up with deterministic parameters. Except inventory if using APO IBP tools. So businesses are forced to work with hard numbers. That's the problem with the deterministic model, Niels, is you have to work with the static numbers sitting there. If users accept a recommendation or the related parametric changes pushed, updated into the tools. So like user is involved in the human in the loop. So human accepted the parameter and it goes and updates the ERP system.
Could be.
Could be.
Could be. If that's what you desire. Could be. But again, if you have to accept 1,000 changes per month, right? Maybe you say, like I gave the example, the bottom 80% of is almost transactional. Get it over with, right? So, or don't and deal with it, and you'll find out you gain the trust in 2-3 months. You'll say, okay, it makes sense, right? We can automate this. API it back, and maybe only the top 20%, and even that dries up. Right? Maybe it's only the top 3 SKUs that you want to discuss in your monthly meeting. And so that is up to the customer. If that's automated back, we would recommend do it as fast as you can, because it saves you time and it gives you time to think about, hey, what are the real risks? What are the real things that we need to change to control our supply chain better?
Thank you very much, Niels. I think we are on top of the hour and a very good conversation. I really enjoyed. Niels, how about you? You felt that you shared what you came here for? Like you're feeling
I cannot see who's on the call, unfortunately, but also the folks maybe looking it back. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm very thankful to Steve to talk to your network as well, and really enjoyed the chat today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Leander, my friend, is here in the audience. I see that. Thank you. Everybody, and those who are watching the recording, please contact Niels directly. All the information is shared in the event, and Oii.ai. Oii.ai is the website. If you are interested to know about more, if you want to schedule a demo or you want to go through some of that, share your data and let them run and see how much cost saving you can have, please, there's nothing, there's no investment in seeing the cost saving opportunity, so that's what we learned today. So I would definitely recommend the clients in the mid-size market or big companies, especially healthcare, where Niels is directly managing, to pharma industries, to have this, see the opportunity, how much you are saving, and while managing the service level, so that you can take the next decision. AI is going very fast. You need to explore the technologies available. You need to keep looking into those. That's why I scheduled this discussion, because you cannot say that the tools technology available 10 or 20 years before is good for me, because this is where the technology is getting cheaper and easily available, and the implementation cost has reduced significantly, and the implementation timeline has reduced significantly. So why not you join on those, and instead of still holding the old tech stack. Thank you very much, and thank you, Niels. Have a nice evening. Thank you. Okay, bye bye.